Hey, what's up, guys? I'm just here to kind of go over my revised Storm Shurikens build, V2, if you will. So the idea here is I'm just kind of remaking an old build that used to use Assassin's Cowl to, throw a bunch of Shurikens, go invisible, get healing, great stuff. And it all revolved around the Withering Blade melee. Now, the big thing here is we are now using the Mask of Fealty, which fits this perfectly. Big thing here is that the null factor, Withering Blade hits and bounces, creates more Stasis Crystal and refund a portion of melee energy. Using the Withering Blade to shatter crystals or frozen targets releases spread of Withering Blades. Note that I missed, the refund of melee energy is actually nuts. Now there's two little caveats which I'll get to showing in a bit, which is the shattering a crystal with it causes the Withering Blade to not bounce anymore. So there's a couple of cases which you want to bounce it off the ground before hitting a crystal or something like that, or aim it at something else. It releases 3, which is great, but yeah, it's still just, if it hits it directly, it doesn't bounce. But then also, when hitting a frozen target, the frozen target has to actually die to the Withering Blade. If they die to the shatter, it won't release. And I've seen some people talking about this being a bug where it doesn't work at all against frozen targets. But, it is what it is. Now, I'll go through the actual setup here. We're on Stasis. We've got Silence and Squall. Currently, I'm just going to show off the Cold Snap Grenade with Winter Shroud. I've realistically, I think if you're not using Touch of Winter, Cold Snap's just the best, actually, and Cold Snap's the best regardless. But I'll show some more stuff about using Touch of Winter with each grenade later. Here we obviously use Grim Harvest, so we get all the shards, as well as getting the Frost Armor. It's going to give melee back, it's going to be good stuff, that's just perfect for it. But then we use Whispering Production for Stasis Shards tracking and the stats. We've got the extra maximum Frost Armor, kind of need that as a Stasis build, just because no survivability otherwise. And then there's the Whisperer Shards giving the Shattering Stasis Crystal giving recharge rate for our grenade, which we're going to have all the time because the amount of crystals that this creates using the Mask of Fealty's crystals that it makes. Great stuff. Slow lasting longer, that's just good across the board. It actually makes Silence and Squall last longer, and the plus 10 strength can't go wrong with. Whisperer Fissures, we want to shatter frozen stuff, so obviously. By standard, we're going to have a whole lot of enemies come out, and we're just going to throw that out, and we're going to miss, because we're absolute professional. And so if we throw it out, and it freezes a bunch of enemies, because the crystals get created, we can then shatter them, and it's just going to absolutely destroy everything. We're going to throw it out. Cold Snap, and you'll see here that the melee is not going to release the blades off that guy, and that's just because of the thing I mentioned, where the shatter can't kill them. The melee has to kill them to release the blades. And then also here you can see that if you bounce it off the ground, it's not super obvious because how tight it is there. But yeah, you can see that it doesn't release the extra blade. It does release the extra blades. It doesn't bounce afterwards. It's kind of good to do it that way. There's a whole bunch of weapons you can use with this setup. I'm just currently been messing around with this for the extra melee energy, long guide, incandescent. It's just a nice setup. But yeah, so Winter Shroud gives us massive regen, we throw that out, freezes dude, boom, get the blades released, it just creates crystals in random spots, we can then shatter the crystals to get a grenade regen, throw the grenade out, get the freeze, things like that. It's a really good loop, you have so much energy for all your abilities, it's just fantastic. Look at that, beautiful. Then we have some examples from a few rounds of Onslaught. Here I've been using Cryosthesia for the obvious synergy. We can see that it just causes a lot of extra, ignore that, a lot of extra shutters. It's just been really useful across the board. This is just from some setups where I was using Touch of Winter with the Cold Snap Grenade. It creating crystals and splitting is just absolutely great. Here's an example of that here. And boom. Absolutely fantastic. I didn't know what to do with myself. A few more examples is Cold Snaps again. Touch of Winter makes this crazy for just getting a massive amount of clear. Obviously, using Touch of Winter or Winter Shroud means we're not getting as much class ability, but we have a lot more power in the grenade, which means we can get bigger bursts off like that. And then of course we move on to the Glacier Grenade, which causes massive shatter explosions when throwing the Withering Blade into it, which just works really well. And then Wicked Implement also works quite well because not only will you create crystals, which feed into this, but also whenever you break a crystal with Wicked Implement, you get a Stasis shard, which just allows you to refund effectively some melee energy and get another stack with Frost Armor. Keep that up. And during one of my Battleground runs, I found the perfect example of one of these Glacier Bombs. This poor Ogre just instantly died. It's the sort of stuff you love to see, and it's how this kind of works well. Then, of course, we've got to move on to the Dust Field, and Dust Field, it's fine. Like, you get a bit of a slow and freeze in the area, and it creates the crystal with Touch of Winter. Wouldn't use it without it. It just doesn't really have the power of the other two, and it doesn't have, like, enough zone control to really warrant using. Then, of course, seeing as it's a melee build, the other obvious pairing would be Monte Carlo for the ability energy regen, as well as its, you know, inbuilt more powerful Swashbuckler. And ignore that. And then here we can see an issue, which I noticed a few times, which is allied crystals don't shatter, so it ends up just fizzling you with Withering Blade. Overall, I just found Monte Carlo to be pretty good, but he had such high ability uptime anyway, it didn't really matter, it wasn't really necessary. Occasionally get refunds though. And once again, here's an allied crystal, 2 melees, absolutely nothing happening. So that should probably be fixed, as it kind of just ruins the exotic if you're playing in a group that's generating allied crystals, especially with Behemoth Titans. Then we move on to the Prismatic setup here, which I definitely have to say I had to make some changes to it, which I'll go over in a second. But the idea that I was using here was basically, we obviously run Stylish Executioner because that's just way too good. In this case, we are, you know, going invis whenever we throw out the Withering Blade. I'm using Gunpowder Gamble, and that's mainly to feed the Facet of Balance, so that, you know, all the melee kills we're getting with Darkness damage is giving Grenade Energy. Grenade Energy feeds the Swarm Grenade. And then gives us charges towards Gunpowder Gamble. Gunpowder Gamble then doing an explosion, killing a bunch of things, will grant us a bunch of melee energy because it's light damage. That and it also benefits from the Facet of Ruin, which we obviously want because we want the bigger shatters, we get the bigger ignitions, and then obviously the Hailfire Spike benefits in that as well. We've gone with Radiant because Radiant's just really good. I think that's a pretty clear choice to go. And then the Facet of Command. That's maybe less good because I've found the same sort of problem with the shattering targets sometimes, so that doesn't, you know, spawn things. Facet of Protection is just way too good overall. Using Deadfall Tether, which is just for the obvious, you know, big groups, and Damage Amp because it's just, I think, the clear winner out of these. Now, I have been made aware that there's a few things that are much better to use across some of these. I'll probably use it instead of the Facet of Command. Which would be, you can go the Elemental buff gives you class ability regen, which I'll probably swap out there. But then we also have, this would be instead of the Radiant probably, as Radiant's very good though. The alternative is, there we go. So the Facet of Purpose, giving the Void Overshield, is just going to be really powerful for keeping us alive. Because we're generating orbs, assuming we're using heavy-handed and you know, some sort of siphon here. I think originally here I was using the Aramite towards the end of my my bigger run I did. But basically with the orb generation you're getting there, you're going to just basically be able to have Void Overshield up all the time. And then also get the class ability regen there. Now the thing that I was kind of made aware of is because we get so much AoE damage from Withering Blade. Initially I found that with Stasis, with Prismatic, I needed to be using something like the Cryosthesia to make sure I was freezing targets, because obviously we have a lot less access to freeze on Prismatic. But after watching a build guide, I think it was Plunder the Booty did a build guide here. What made me realize Winter's Shroud is probably the way to go over Gunpowder Gamble, because it gives us the class ability regen for slowing targets. And I don't care too much about the dodging slows nearby targets, but seeing as we're always slowing stuff here, we get a lot more class ability. We then use Gambler's Dodge to reset it, and it starts this really good loop. And so we kind of have those couple of options there where initially, you know, I was going that gunpowder gamble and throwing that out, and it's great, and you'll see that in some of the follow-ups, but that's the kind of setup there. Outside of that, on both, mods aren't, you know, super urgent. You got to go with what'll help you out a lot. I had a couple of surges on for some extra damage and stuff. I'd gone with Bomber here and Reaper, but I mean, a lot of this is like, go with what you need. I'd recommend some of the ones that refund energy, or getting orbs off melees is obviously good. Getting super energy from melees. Stats overall, you know, what your mobility, resilience, you want some discipline and strength. Strength, I actually feel, is actually largely unimportant, purely because you get so much chunk energy refund across the board. It's just really crazy. That and your dodge refunds it. And look, while I'm here, may as well mention some of the other weapon synergies that you can have. Some of the clear ones is obviously anything with Headstone or Chill Clip. We've got a couple of the exotics. You could use Aegis Scepter, but I wouldn't really want to use that over an actual super when you've got plenty of other weapons that are really useful for this. Going like the demo Chill Clip Deliverance, I would use this on Stasis more than I would use it on Prismatic, purely because Chill Clip giving shards back, and less useful for Prismatic. Still very good. Obviously, I mentioned Wicked Implement and Monte Carlo, but then you've got things with the Headstone, great stuff. More crystals means more shattering things. Rhyme Stealer is also very useful, and I think probably the star of the show, if you're not looking at using an exotic, is the Rhyme Stealer Chill Clip Liturgy that they give you through the episode campaign here. Obviously, just getting a lot of frost armor there is super useful. Otherwise, I think the only other thing to note would be Salvation's Grip is actually surprisingly nice. I mean, it's not like a super crazy synergy because making the Field of Crystals isn't as good as you'd hope, but it kind of works like the Glacier Bombs that I showed up before. Otherwise, I've been enjoying using a couple of weapons with Cold Steel just to help freeze bigger targets and stuff. And funnily enough, Ill Omen with because it's a caster frame with Attrition Orbs and Chill Clip, actually quite good. One heavy attack generates orbs there, so that can then just fuel the rest of your build. Really, it's just go whatever weapons you need for the encounters that you're doing. In any case, I'm going to probably leave it there. I hope that's been a good enough explanation for all this stuff. Really, I think you just got to play around with it. I would say there's so many ways, especially on Prismatic, to play it. Stasis, I think the main versatility is based off the grenade and which aspect you use there. But yeah, here at least, play it how you want. I'll leave it there. If you could like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think. I'll just leave you with some footage of the last few rounds of one of the Onslaughts that I did with a couple of mates. Just shows off the Prismatic setup I was using with the gunpowder gamble there. Works pretty well. I'll see you guys in the next one, which will either be some more Destiny 2 stuff, and maybe I'll move on to Path of Exile, because in November we get Path of Exile 2. It's only a month away now, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing Path of Exile 2, so I might start making some content on Path of Exile leading up to that. Anyway, thanks guys, have a good one.
Excellent work. We're making strong headway purging the...
your service. Elixir me have long a memory.